Okay. Well, good morning and welcome to our Creating Synergies in a Modern Workplace interactive webinar. I'm Sandy Waller, head of U.S. Print and Supplies for HP, and I'm pleased to be joined by my co-host this morning, Jean Kozub, head of U.S. Personal Systems and Services. Hey, good morning, Jean.
Good morning. I'm looking forward to the session this morning.
As am I. So listen, on behalf of Jean and myself and your HP team, please accept a warm welcome to the event this morning. So we know that your Zoom time is highly coveted these days, and we appreciate you spending part of your day with us. So thank you. Now, our objective for this morning is to hear how HP's technology leadership spans both print and personal systems. Now, by joining forces, our goal is to help identify some natural synergies in your environment and to potentially expand our relationship, optimizing your value to your IT business needs. Now, first of all, a few logistics for this morning. We would love to hear from you. So if you'd like, you can submit questions through the Q&A chat box, as always located at the bottom of your screen. Now, just type your question in and hit send. That being said, we'll be alerting our discussion leaders throughout the morning that questions have come in. And if by chance we don't get to your question, don't worry. We will follow up directly with you for questions that are not answered during our live time this morning. Now, in addition, we do have a short survey that we will pop up at the conclusion of our event today. And again, we'd love your feedback. It's important to us that we continue to keep these relevant for your business. Now, in terms of our agenda and our short time together today, Jean and I are pleased to be joined by two dynamic HP guest speakers. So as you can see, we'll have Kirk Godkin joining us. He is our Senior Director of Commercial Products and Strategic Initiatives. Also, Mary Hart, our Director of North America Commercial Print. Now, in terms of the actual agenda, we're going to begin with some insight as to what we are seeing today with customers in terms of trends. Now, following that, we're going to bring things in a little closer and we'll get to enjoy a fireside chat. The fireside chat will contrast how the different PC and print businesses are delivering value in the common and shared areas of security, sustainability, manageability, and productivity, all critical in the workplace. And remember, you do have the opportunity to engage and ask questions throughout, so please take us up on that opportunity. Okay, so with that, let's go ahead and jump into the topics. So welcome, Kirk and Mary. Now, I think what might be most helpful, team, is to begin with, let's say, a bit of a broader picture. So how about, let's ask, can you please share with us what we're hearing from customers as to what's important to them today in the modern workplace in terms of PC and print decisions? So if you're good with it, Mary, let's start with you. Can you give us an update? What are you seeing?
Thank you, Sandy. Good morning, and good morning, Jean and Kirk, and thank you to all of you who are here today. I would love to start with a little bit about the broader trends that we are seeing and that we're addressing. And Kirk, feel free to jump in, because I think a lot of these broader trends obviously are going to cross both PC and print. If we step back, we all know that work will never be the same again. Over the last 2 years, we have learned so much, and we have developed new ways of working that we think are going to be here to stay. For example, hybrid work is what we're calling it. This notion of doing some work in the office and doing some work at home. We know that companies are looking at redefining their cultures. Executive teams are going in and they're reevaluating their company culture and how hybrid work really fits in with that. I know we're doing that at HP. And what we're finding is the key values that a lot of companies are centering on are around collaboration and trust and agility. We're also seeing that there's changing work attitudes when it comes to employees and what they're being asked to do from a hybrid perspective. Some of the research that we've seen shows that about 33% of employees would change jobs if they were asked to go back into the office full time. Employees, or at least a significant amount of them, want to be able to work from home and to have the flexibility that they've had over the last couple of years. And in order to be successful doing that, we need to enable them with the right technology.
Yeah, I would say one thing, Mary, I'd add to that is that I like this word freedom. I always think of Braveheart, freedom, where Mel Gibson's going back, like, freedom, and I think that's what employees feel like. That's what hybrid work has enabled. There's this tremendous amount of freedom that they feel. But as what we hear from customers continually, that that level of freedom has its drawbacks for IT, as well as for end users. End users are feeling disconnected at times. They feel like, I'm missing this human interaction, this human connection. I can't meet with people face to face. Is my idea coming across? Can people actually hear me? Can you guys see me? Can you guys hear me? So people want to be seen. They want to be heard. That's what I'm hearing from customers every single week.
I think that's a really good one. And I also think that when we look again at research and the trends that we're seeing, people get judged, right? Because they may not have the personal relationship anymore. And so how you show up virtually does make a difference. And it matters on if your AV or your video quality is working well. I think it goes to your professionalism sometimes as well. And we've all had the glitches, right? We've all had the dog barking in the background, or the baby crying, or the trash truck rumbling down the street. But I think that people are judging more and more on that now than they ever have before.
So true.
Yeah. And I think the other thing, one more trend that we're seeing that I wanted to highlight is that, and you hit on this, is the vast majority of employees, though they want this Braveheart freedom and want to be running with their face paint and their kilt, they also want to collaborate. To your point, they want to still have that connectivity. And so how do we bring that together, and how do we enable that? In essence, like the slide says, how does HP make hybrid work work? There's 4 key pillars that we are focusing in on. And this is across personal systems as well as across the print portfolio. But we feel that these are really important as we look at achieving the needs of employees moving forward. One of them is security. We know that security has become more important than ever. I'll tell you, Kirk, I pulled out I don't know if you guys can see this, I pulled out my old PC security filter because I knew I was going to be talking to you. I thought you might appreciate that. I used to use that on the airplane all the time when I was traveling. I don't have to use that anymore, but I am still working in coffee shops or in the queue with my kids waiting to pick them up. So we also know that hacks and phishing are becoming more and more prevalent as more people are working from home. So security is one of those keys.
100%. And I think that level of freedom when employees are sitting in their home office, again, they feel another level of freedom to maybe to click or to search or to check, social media or emails that are personal on their corporately issued device. And so, that level of freedom is keeping IT up at night. It's like, how do they, manage that, and how do they manage those additional vulnerabilities? Because what I hear from ITDMs and CISOs continually is that remote work means additional security vulnerability on their print devices, on their endpoint devices. And so, that's one challenge I continue to hear. The other one is, I think, it's on the slide as well. The visual is manageability. I remember the days where a new employee, they would show up on campus, and you'd greet them and maybe take them, have a coffee and take them down to IT, get their new PC, and they'd get everything set up, and now it's like some employees have never been on campus.
Right.
And so, what is the onboarding experience going to look like?
Right.
And how do you manage all those devices? So.
Right, whether it's a PC or a printer, there are a lot of settings on a printer that need to be managed. And so how do we enable that as well? It's a great point. Sustainability and personas or productivity are the other 2 pillars that HP is really focusing in on as we look at making hybrid work for our customers. Sustainability is obviously key and becoming more and more important to customers. And then making sure you've got the right product. That's what we mean when we say personas, kind of a fancy word for just who are you and what is it that you really need in your work environment. So those are the four things that we're really focusing in on, Sandy and Jean, as we look at being successful in this new environment.
Yeah, and I just had, last thing I'd kind of add to that is this is really, I know this is our charter. Our charter at HP is to absolutely understand, what users want, absolutely what they need and what IT is desiring to overcome these challenges and new set of challenges in a way that their workforce works, what their work styles are, to be seen, to be heard, where they work. And so that's what we've been continually, innovating around, with new solutions like HP Presence. So that's a brand that you're going to get very familiar with, for meeting room spaces on campus, and then HP Presence on your endpoint devices as well. And so that's a brand you continue to look for. A lot of innovation and focus there because we're concerned about productivity, and users feeling like, hey, I can be seen, I can be heard. So you're going to hear a lot about HP Presence, and again, a lot of commonality. We'll talk more about this later, I'm sure, which is HP Wolf Security. And again, that's another brand that your users should easily recognize in IT to feel confidence in the type of print and PC devices that are being delivered and issued and set up and onboarded, that they can feel secure in this new hybrid work world that we're living in.
Awesome. Great points. Great points.
Hey, Mary and Kirk, thanks for some of those initial thoughts about what we're seeing in the marketplace. I'm starting to hear this term that is called workplace equity. And this is a term that just talks about how IT organizations can make a similar experience, whether you're in the home or whether you're in the workplace, for your user. So it's really interesting and kind of emerging now as a requirement. So now, that being said, can you talk a little bit about the synergies between PC and print from an HP perspective? What are some of the synergies across these pillars that we see?
Well, I think we should start with security. I mean, it's, I know there's a lot of synergies between print and PCs. Both are on the endpoints. They're both endpoint devices. And so, from a PC perspective, and I know this is true for print as well. I mean, when PCs, we think about it, and the conversations I have, it's like, what structure can we provide? And we think about below the operating system, in or alongside the operating system, and then above the operating system. Mary mentioned it's like the good old privacy filter. Just to let you know, back in 2015, it's been a little while now, I was sitting in New York with a customer, and I like to be a good listener, right? I mean, I feel like HP is a great guide, and the customer said, Kirk, he said, he held up a privacy filter like you have, Mary, and said, Kirk, we're buying, at least 2 of these for every one of us, and they have thousands of users, at least 2 of these every year for all of our users. I go, can you find a way to put this inside the notebook? And or inside the desktop too, you mentioned. And so I was like, that's a great idea. And so I took that back to IT, into our R&D department, and said, look, hey, this is a great customer idea. Coincidentally, they were actually incubating this as a very similar idea, and that's how we launched SureView. And it really that operates above the operating system. It provides prying eyes, whether you're in the airport or in a coffee shop, or maybe even when you're at home, who knows, doing your Valentine's Day shopping. So you can turn on HP SureView. And so, we built that in, but that was really just listening to customers and delivering a security solution above the operating system. In the operating system or alongside it, we would do something like HP SureClick. And so, really, we're, malware, ransomware, a virus is really just simply one click away. And so, we want people to be able to click with confidence. And so when they click on something or they open something, it opens that attachment inside a micro VM. And that's a fancy way to say it opens it inside of a sandbox. And it isolates any potential malware from the host or user data or the corporate network, while still delivering this amazing user experience. So again, above the operating system example would be SureView. We have other ones as well. Alongside would be something like SureClick, and then below would be HP SureStart. So, and really just a fantastic innovation, not only from a security standpoint, but in the fact that it's actually self-healing. And so self-healing is great because, again, that eliminates, a touch to all these devices out there that might be having some type of attack at the firmware level, at the BIOS level. And again, that is this kind of self-healing resilient firmware that we've created with HP SureStart. It's really delivering an innovative solution. And again, this is an important feature, and it really talks about the synergy that we have between PCs and print in regards to securing the endpoint, because it's not just the PC that we're securing with SureStart. We're actually securing the printer as well. And so, our overall, if you hear this bumper sticker, every endpoint decision is a security decision. I'm sure you agree with that, Mary.
I have that bumper sticker, actually, Kirk, on my car. But yeah, it's absolutely true. And I think you make a great point. And I think one of the most exciting things that our customers can know is that we do leverage technology between print and between PC. So you can have the peace of mind and the security with your PC. And we've taken that same kind of security peace of mind over to print. SureStart, whitelist, runtime intrusion detection, connection inspector, because again, we know that it's important to protect the BIOS and the firmware on endpoints in general. A lot of times people forget your printer is just another endpoint, and we've got to be able to protect that all the way through the applications that reside upon the endpoints and all the way to the device. So we also do a lot of other things in print that enable us to have document security or device security, whether it's something like pull printing. So you don't release, and this is more and more important as we move into a hybrid work environment, you don't release the print job until you're there to actually pick it up. So you know that it's not sitting there and potentially prying eyes can see it. But I do think that's one of the greatest things, Sandy, across print and PC is this leverage of technology and the ability to have that consistent protection and that consistent experience.
So critical, right, in this environment. And now inviting Jean. I see Jean has joined us. So let's get a little cozier, maybe fireside chat style, and continue to click down on some of these synergies across these critical pillars that Mary and Kirk have started to talk about. So Jean, welcome to our little chat this morning. And over to you. I see that you are in the forest, and that tells me that you have a tremendous interest in sustainability.
It's a great opportunity to spend a little bit of time and pivot to sustainability, which we are very, very vested in. And we're seeing an increasing priority by our customers when it comes to sustainability, which is an important factor as companies are making technology decisions. So Mary, can you talk a little bit about what we're doing around sustainability with our print solutions?
Yeah, absolutely. And Jean, before we go to print specifically, I just want to reiterate your proof point. I mean, I am so proud, and as I know we all are, of HP's commitment to sustainability. And a lot of times we think about sustainability as just the forest or the trees, but we actually at HP are committed to sustainability across the planet, the people, and the communities that we operate within. And so if that's something that our customers have as a shared value, would love for them to learn more about our overall commitment to sustainability. When it comes to print specifically, as part of becoming our commitment to become the most sustainable and just technology company by 2030, we're doing a lot. Sometimes people think that printing is bad for the environment. And oh my goodness, what about all of these plastics and what about all of this paper? But our strategy includes multiple elements, including looking at restricting our plastic components that we're utilizing, upcycling our ocean-bound and consumer plastics, and constructing a closed-loop production cycle. We take recycled bottles and hangers. We incorporate those both into our hardware and our supplies. In fact, we sourced more than 1.7 million pounds of ocean-bound plastics for use in our supplies and our hardware. We made 4.9 billion HP ink or toner cartridges made with recycled plastic bottles and hangers. So there's a big commitment there. And I have a lot of other stats that I won't bore you guys with, but there's a lot that HP is doing. The other one is around paper. So people often ask us, well, isn't it bad for the environment because you're just printing paper, and what about the trees? But HP is very committed. We have what we call forest positive tactics. So what we're doing here is we are working to restore vulnerable forests. We support the sustainable management of global forest resources, including counteracting deforestation. We're reducing paper waste from 30 to 50% with print solutions. And then we're also working on a portfolio that does little things like defaulting to duplex so that less paper is being utilized. I would say one of the other really key things that we're doing is with the World Wildlife Fund, and where we're working to protect and restore over 200,000 acres of forest. We design our products with the environment in mind, not as an afterthought. And that's both for our hardware as well as for our supplies. I'll also make a plug for our supplies because of the quality of the print that you get when you use original HP supplies. You actually are going to have fewer reprints that you have to do. And that's another great way to be able to cut down on the amount of paper that you're doing. So given all of that, you really can print with HP and have a clear conscience.
Let me just add to that a little bit, Mary, I know on the business personal systems side, we talk a lot about Energy Star. We talk a lot about EP, CDP, and a lot of different ratings from different agencies, not just in the US, but across the world. Those aren't just, for personal systems, those actually, span print as well. In fact, I just got a notification email yesterday and that HP has been awarded for 2022 Energy Star OEM Partner of the Year from the EPA. So, and that's not just due to personal systems, that's also due to our focus on print as well. And so, we're proud of that, and that's great for HP, but that's a true benefit for customers, for you as well, on the print and the PC side. Why is that? I often, think about, who focuses on sustainability. Well, it's really three different stakeholders. Number one, it's definitely the company itself, as they report, their overall focus on sustainability as a company to Wall Street. Another one really is to the users inside of a company. Employees are absolutely looking to work for a company that really focuses on sustainability and across many different areas, as Mary alluded to. And again, that's an attractiveness to actually attract employees as well as retain them. And I really think thirdly, that's what your customers are looking for. And so they're looking to make sure that, hey, the company that we're purchasing from, does have sustainability focus. And so, what does HP do? It's, again, I talked about, below, in or alongside and above the operating system. We do something very similar for sustainability as well, where we really focus on how can we affect before the PC is ever used, during its use, and then after use. Before it's used, we do things like bulk packaging. So instead of purchasing, every single desktop or notebook in its own singular set of packaging, the tremendous amount of sustainability savings that can be had if actually placing those all inside exactly the same box and shipping them directly from the factory. So maybe 10 inside of a box or 15. And so we do a lot of bulk packaging, not to mention Greenway and different ways that we actually our logistics on how we get products, to you. And then during use would be things like Energy Star, EPEAT Gold. We have the most EPEAT Gold registered products in the world. And I'm proud of that, but that's truly a benefit to you as well. And so that's during use. And then after use, it would be like the recyclability, even the serviceability of a product. And so it's like, how do we break it down? And that's where, Mary was alluding to on the print side, using ocean-bound plastics, using hangers, and so we do exactly the same thing in PCs. It's one of the reasons we focus on materials like magnesium or aluminum, because we want to use materials that are recyclable versus maybe using, a different type of material. And so that's how we really approach sustainability, really collectively from print and PC. So I don't know, Sandy, it's like there's so much to talk about, but I know we have a couple of other subjects, but I just get so excited talking about it, frankly.
No, Mary and Kurt, thank you so much. And I mean, it's so in the fabric, I always say, of HP. And in fact, I think Newsweek had named HP the most sustainable company. So it's a true and long-standing commitment, no doubt. So thanks for your thoughts there. Hey, let's shift gears. I want to ask you, Kirk, a little bit about, for years we have talked about personas and end user segmentation. In fact, I think you personally were talking about it before it was even cool. So that being said, can you tell us a little bit about how this applies to PC and print together?
Yeah, absolutely. And really personas, user segmentation, it's truly all about, I would say two things. One, definitely about productivity, for sure. And that absolutely relates to print and PC. And then it's something else, that I coined a term a long time ago. Maybe I should have copyrighted. Maybe I ought to see if it is copyrighted. I call it ROH. And it's really return on happiness. And so, it's like, how do we deliver happiness for employees? And maybe that's a different way to say, your employee, net employee experience score. Maybe you guys measure overall user experience. And then again, that cuts across PCs and print as well. And it's just absolutely important. I'm having a ton of conversations around user segmentation and personas with customers that I spoke to, 10 years ago about this same subject, that implemented user segmentation inside their environment based upon working with HP, knowing that we don't design a printer or a PC just for one size fits all. But what we've absolutely understand, and in a post-COVID world, in a hybrid work world, things have absolutely changed. People's work styles, their workflows have changed. And so as a result of that, really taking a fresh look at their user segmentations and personas in their environment is absolutely critical. And again, this is not just on print and PCs, it's also on accessories, services, as well, maybe even including things like, device as a service. And so all these come into play on how do you make, for example, a mobile trailblazer on the PC side of things, who is highly mobile, they work anywhere, they travel. And so they want something, again, that's light, that looks good in front of others, in front of customers, but at the same time, they want to make sure that it's sustainable, that it meets their needs now in a hybrid work. What type of camera does it have? Is it full HD? Is it 5 megapixel? Does it move with me, as I move around the room? Does it rotate? Can I move up and down? How does my PC hear me? Can people see me here? So again, building those things in to a device, again, that is a very significant post-COVID world requirement to deliver additional productivity and that return on happiness. And so this absolutely includes the printer as well, does it not, Mary?
Oh, absolutely. And, I think that you hit on a key, because I think that we may have thought we had certain personas when folks were solely going into the office, and we certainly did. But those needs of people to continue to be happy working from a remote location is just as important. And the technology that they have that enables them to do that is so important. And so on the print side, we look at personas. And for example, folks may not know, we have a mobile printer, the OfficeJet 250, that is a great mobile device that we have seen a lot of companies looking to deploy as they look at this new hybrid work environment. We have the Smart app, for example, trying to make it easier to print regardless of where you are, being able to utilize that and have that manageability on devices. All the way up, of course, to the innovations that we're making with our A3 devices and our MFPs. So if somebody is needing to put in place, for example, a workflow, printers are not just a device that spits out a piece of paper. We're actually a little bit like a PC. I'm trying to be like Kirk here, but a little bit like a PC in that we can go in and you can program workflows that are going to make it easier for your employees to be productive depending upon what their specific job tasks are. And those things really do make a difference in employee satisfaction and employee engagement. So definitely a commonality that we have between PC and print, trying to develop the product in a way that's going to enable customers to be the most productive. And I love the return on happiness and happy with what they're doing. I love that.
Sandy, I would agree with you. I think Kirk was the person who I first ever heard talk about personas. It was many, many years ago, but it couldn't be more relevant than today. When we talk about personas, the other thing that comes into mind is manageability, which is deeply tied to productivity and how and where people work. And with hybrid happening across just about every organization globally, even their most advanced services and support strategies pre-pandemic are being challenged. So Kirk, could you spend a couple minutes discussing some of HP's innovations with regards to managing devices and optimizing productivity?
Absolutely, Gene. And this is, again, one that we're constantly, having discussions, I know Mary and I, with customers on a continual basis, and just like we have fully manageable printers, a PC all the way down to the settings in the BIOS absolutely need to be easily managed, using common tools like Microsoft System Center or other different types of system management utilities. And so for HP, what we always think about is, again, from, the onboarding of the device all the way through its life cycle, making sure that it's absolutely tunable, updated, secure, and then even at its end of life. And so within that, we have these common tools that we, easily that plug into things like SCCM. We have something called HP Connect that we just launched last year, literally a plug-in that sits inside, alongside SCCM, and as tools like Azure and such roll out, or Azure, I was thinking about, Microsoft's replacement for SCCM. So again, we have these tools that plug into that. One of the stories I like to tell is I have an employee on my team, and she joined HP almost right out of college. And she's never been on HP's campus, even though she lives less than 10 minutes away, just because of HP policy and kind of us taking a lot of health precautions. Absolutely. So, I get on the phone, I watch her, again, we get on Zoom and we get on Teams and we have meetings and we talk. And so you kind of get used to people's background. They're not all a forced background like we have today. So, but she had her background. So you kind of get to, okay, that's, she's in her apartment. I can see where she's working at. Well, one day, Gene, I noticed that her background had changed, and I asked her, I go, "Oh yeah, did you move or something?" She goes, "No, I'm in my closet." I go, "In your closet? What do you mean in your closet?" And she goes, "Yeah, I'm in my closet because at the end of the day, I feel like I can close my door, and I'm leaving the office." And so for her, again, that's how she gets, return on happiness. But the same thing as relates to her delivering that happiness as far as where she works and how she was implementing happiness in her own workplace. It's the same thing around manageability and making sure that your system has updated drivers, it has updated BIOS, that it's actually getting these updates. And frankly, we have a tool called Tech Pulse, which can actually predetermine, whether or not our system is actually running effectively. So for this young lady working in her closet at home, TechPulse can actually determine whether or not the system is actually being configured and properly running. Is it using more than 80% of the RAM in her system? Is she, or is it maybe she's only leveraging 15% of the RAM? This again goes back to, TechPulse understanding how users are using their devices and the type of device that they need. Subsequently, that identifies their personas, which rolls into what type of device she should be having, she should be using, which raises her overall return on happiness, improves, employee retention and happiness, as she has worked for HP over the past now almost 2 years. And that's what we look to manage, a printer, more. But with HP Security Manager, we can easily, explain how we can help, doing that, make it very secure. So, and we're also seeing this major trend towards, managed print services. I don't know, Mary, if you want to comment on that, but
yeah, I mean, I think that's awesome. First of all, I need to run what you were talking about with 80% of the RAM being consumed. I need to run that on my own PC. So I'm glad to learn about that, because there is nothing, again, it's all about enabling employees to be successful when they're working at home and to be as productive as they would be in an office. And if they don't have the right configuration, it's very frustrating if they can't run Teams or they can't run Zoom. And those are so critical to being able to engage and have that collaboration that we talked about earlier as part of the trends that we're seeing as well. You mentioned HP Security Manager. I mean, no one really loves managing a printer. There's a lot of settings out there that you can go in and you can adjust, but with HP Security Manager, you can do that all at one time. You can set certain parameters on how your printer is going, what it's going to print, who's going to be able to access what, and it makes it very streamlined and very easy, and does it in an easy way that also ensures security. So I think that that's a great one. And then I also think that from a manageability standpoint, we are seeing a growing trend for MPS. We knew that the business was going to continue to move to contractual. More and more customers are interested in having that manageability that they get by having their print devices under a contract. The pandemic accelerated that. COVID really did accelerate the need to get devices under contract. And it's just another factor or another piece of that manageability and ensuring that employees are being successful.
Thanks for that from both of you. We've talked a lot about the synergies behind the hardware solutions for both PC and print, but we haven't really talked about services, and no solution is really complete without the services that bring it all together. So can we spend a little bit of time talking about really the cohesion between PC and print with our service offerings?
Yeah, so, I think that's a great point. And like much of what we've talked about today, it spans both our PC and our print solutions. If a customer today is a print customer, again, they likely have heard of MPS. They probably are, at least if they're not there yet, they're probably exploring MPS, and they probably would see the value of reducing waste with improved supplies management. They probably would also benefit from using HP expertise in business intelligence to track their spend and to proactively prevent problems to lower service costs. These are features that a lot of our print customers may already have in place, or services that are already there, but they may not recognize that there are services that they could benefit from on the BPS side as well. So I don't know, Kirk, if you have specific ones that you want to talk through, like VAS, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, from the BPS side of things, we've been working with device as a service for a while, and absolutely showing the value of solutions like proactive insights. Which again, go back to some of the discussion, we were briefly alluding, talking about previously, but this overall shift from CapEx to OpEx, the ability to really, standardize, the refresh in your environment, so there aren't any really these 7-year-old PCs out in your environment. And then our services absolutely resonate well with both, PC and print customers. Those insights from the PC side of things absolutely apply to print as well. So from MFPs all the way to desk-side personal printers, because if IT equipment isn't managed or updated regularly, it may as well be like a rusty car that may or may not get you to where you want to go. So we also know that almost all customers are on a journey to modern management. And again, there's that word. I'm sure you guys were looking for it. HP is absolutely, there as it pertains to modern management. And we actually assist in that journey with a suite of related services, provisioning services, helping you with autopilot, being able to get these things, out into the wild, set up on great onboarding experience, and then help you, actively manage those devices, utilizing solutions like DAS.
Mary and Kirk, this has been a great conversation. I've got one more thing I'm going to tee up to you, but just a reminder to our clients on the call today, if you have a question or a comment, please use the Q&A. We're going to get to a Q&A session in just a couple of seconds here. So Kirk and Mary, some of our customers on the call today are either personal systems customers today or print solutions customers. And we just talked about some of the synergies between the two solutions. Can you summarize the resultant impact for a client and their business if they utilize both HP print and PC systems and solutions?
You want to take a first swing at it, Kirk, and then I can jump
Sure.
in?
And I mentioned earlier, I would just say really return on happiness. And I'll go back to something I said at the beginning is, while users, your users, feel this level of freedom, they absolutely feel disconnected. There's a major challenge that, companies are going through in regards to their overall culture and how that's having to evolve or be changed as a result of a very distributed workforce more than before. And so I think for print PCs, it's really all about, how do we help with that? How can HP help? And that return on happiness is, I think, absolutely, I know it's a commonality thread in how we approach things from a PC and a print, is that we're looking for happiness, productivity gains. And I think we can do that very efficiently by having what I would call a very single relationship on your behalf with HP. And that absolutely will lead to cost savings, enhanced security solutions that we talked about today, and protection. It will, ensure that, we have an approach that collectively that HP delivers on print and PC that focuses on personas. And so it's not one size fits all from a print or from a PC perspective. So the synergy between print and PC really provides an opportunity for customers to really raise return on happiness, enhance their overall security and protection, and really roll out solutions from print and PC services and accessories that focus on personas, that focus on people.
I love that. And I would agree with you 100%. I think that whether it's, our pause, or whether it's a PC by folks or a printer by folks consolidating with one environment, that return on happiness quotient, I'm going to start using your term, will just go up and up. And I love your point on the relationship. I think having a single relationship, there's a lot of benefit to that. And HP is very unique that we offer the ability to have that. There's no other manufacturer that our customers can work with that offer that end-to-end solution and that leverage of technology and innovation that we bring to all of our products. So I think that's a great one.
Well said, well said. Well, Sandy, what do you say we open it up to a conversation with the attendees? And I see we've got a couple of questions. The first one we'll tee up is, as hybrid working and learning continues, how are HP printers making those shared spaces in office and schools safer, i.e. sanitizable mobile printing, pull print solutions?
That's a great question. And actually, those are some of the key things that we're doing. We have a great accessory. It was actually developed for ADA compliance, but it's a voice accessory, another way to limit your touches with a device. We also have some healthcare devices that are more robust or easier to sanitize depending upon the environment that they're being placed within. Pull printing is another one that is great to be able to, again, limit the engagement with the printer while also ensuring security of the document. We're continuing to innovate. We're going to have some great new scanners. Hopefully I'm not leaking the information coming out. That's something we can't forget about as well. And we also are going to have some great new A3 devices hitting the market in the summer timeframe that will continue to help us with being productive in that hybrid environment. Can't talk a lot about those, but watch for those new product introductions coming.
Hey, Jean, can I add one thing to that? You
Sure.
mentioned the word sanitization, and it's really something that we've leaned into from an HP on the PC side as well. And so you think about, you have these beautiful devices that we're designing, we're shipping, aluminums, magnesiums. Really, customers appreciate that. Not just that it's lightweight, but it's beautiful. And so within those, we want people to be able to wipe those down, use an over-the-counter wipe, and be able to wipe them down with confidence that they're not damaging the fit or the finish of their devices. They don't want to be able to wipe down the keyboard and that all of a sudden the letters start rubbing off. Okay, so you don't have to be concerned about that. These are features that we're building into our Elite products. So when you see Elite, it's being built in there. I even talked to healthcare customers continually. We used to have products in the past that we called Healthcare Edition, and they used to say, "Well, how come you don't carry Healthcare Edition products anymore?" I go, "Well, what we did is, we built sanitization, right? This ability to use an over-the-counter wipe. In fact, some of these we've designed that you can even use germicidal wipes. And so, you can feel with confidence that you can wipe them down continually day after day after day. Let's say they are on a cart on wheels going up and down, the hall of the medical center. Again, you can wipe those down continually. The mouse, the keyboard, the display, a notebook, the desktop, and you can feel very confident about delivering. Again, this goes back to sustainability, which also focuses on the employee, their health, their overall safety. So that's something that we've done on the PC side as well.
Hey, Kirk, funny that you mentioned that. I'm really glad we're designing so that we can wipe that down without removing the letters. I've got an ounce of trivia for you. In the days when keyboard letters used to actually be, the more you used them, the letters would rub off. Do you know what were the 2 letters that rubbed off the most?
I feel like I'm on Wheel of Fortune. Okay,
right.
so
N.
N. Raise it as a question. Yeah.
I'm gonna go. What is E? And I'm looking at my keyboard. I'm gonna say E and T.
Okay, that is close, but no, the letters are N and O. Okay, so there we go.
Interesting. Okay.
That was interesting. Hey, so we've talked a little bit about some of this, but we did receive a question around the biggest challenge HP is seeing in addressing new working environments and how can some of the solutions help our customers' companies. So we've touched on a bit. Is there anything else you would add on this topic, Mary or Kirk?
Well, I can start and Kirk, you can jump in. I mean, I think that again, we are designing to make hybrid work, and we are making investments in innovation across, I know, print as well as PC, like the sanitization that we just talked about. I think a conversation with, if you're a PC customer, with your PC rep, and pull in your print rep and talk about the innovations and how we can help your environment would be great, and vice versa. Again, there's a lot of innovation that is happening across all of our portfolios that are enabling work at home or hybrid work to be able to be more successful, and for us to be able to adapt to the changes that we're seeing and what our employees are asking us for as well. I don't know, Kirk, anything you'd add?
Yeah, so I just opened up an app. So I'm using a Dragonfly Max. It actually has some of these HP presence features that I talked about. And again, the major challenge we're seeing, I mean, we're very distributed now. So being seen, being heard, how do I look on camera? Don't answer that, Gene and Sandy and Mary, okay? So, but it's like, how do I look on camera? What about lighting? You know, do I look washed out? You know, do I have the window open on my right-hand side? You know, can people hear me clearly? Do I want people to see my head and shoulders, my torso? So I opened up an app. I just want to kind of show you how this works a little bit. Right now it's capturing my upper body. So again, I make I click and it's like the camera is like, okay, now the camera says, hey, Kirk, you want people to just see your head and shoulders. Let's say if I want people just to see my head, it does that as well. So, I'm not moving, the camera is doing all the work. And for me, it's like, maybe not as close. Okay. So, and even there's even ways when I move positions, again, people should be able to continue to see me very clearly. And that should not have to impact. And so I think that's what people are dealing with. That's the challenge is, how do I look on camera? Can you hear me very clearly? How do we use, AI and sensors, not just delivering a 5 megapixel or a full HD camera. It's much more than that. It's about everything else, the sensors that go around that specifically. And then that's not just in a notebook. We're doing that in desktop all-in-ones. We're doing that in displays, and accessories. And so I really connection, collaboration, delivered through HP Presence, that is absolutely what customers and end users are looking for, specifically in this new hybrid world.
Now, Kirk, I don't have HP Presence new system with me here. I have to get up and I have to go like this and I have to sit back, but I like the buttons that you have. That's really awesome. And for our clients, right, the Presence Room solution and the capabilities we're developing into our technology products is just unbelievable when it comes to being in the room for the conversation. So if you haven't had a chance or to talk with your account team about that, please don't hesitate to ask. We've got just a couple more minutes left and we've got a couple of questions in the queue, but if anyone else has any more questions, please feel free to type them. We may have answered a little bit about of this, but I'll tee it up anyway. One of the questions that was posed was, can you talk a little bit more about how we're helping IT when it comes to the changing culture challenge as a result of the really more distributed workforce? So I'll toss it over to you, Kirk.
Yeah, I'll start, and it's interesting. I've been with HP 31 years now. This is Gene's heard me tell this joke. This is my third hairstyle. Okay. So Mary, I am counting on being able to print hair one of these days. Okay. So maybe that'd be my fourth.
To your HP Presence. It'll be great.
Yeah. So, but Gene, I would say in 31 years, really over the past, I would say 2 years now, I've had more discussions around culture with IT than I've ever had before. And it's really because, again, HR, CEOs are looking to IT to help them solve really a culture challenge. And that's the result of, again, a very distributed work environment, because of the freedom that employees are enjoying, but also the challenges that come with that. And so that level of disconnection is really causing companies it's really challenging the overall culture of their company. We've all seen terms like the Great Resignation, and other terms that come along with that. IT is absolutely being looked at to help solve that challenge, which is why I talk a lot about culture and return on happiness, which is a print and a PC mantra inside of HP. And so how do we do that? Again, we want devices to be secure, but we want that security to also be a great experience for the end user. They should not have to be impacted because of the amount of security agents running on their devices. And so how can HP help with that? Again, that's why we do this overall below, in, and above the operating system. Sustainability, again, part of culture. part of employee attractiveness to a company and retention overall. IT can absolutely be the hero inside their company, addressing what is an evolving cultural challenge that every company is absolutely seeing.
Yeah, and I think that at the core of that, manageability, productivity, security, it really kind of goes back to the 4 pillars that we started the conversation around. And again, that HP is working and designing our products to be able to deploy into customer environments. And also, it is aesthetics. People, as they are coming back into the office, are redesigning their office spaces to have more of collaboration rooms and collaboration neighborhoods. On the print side, for example, we're doing some really neat things on our A3s that are going to be coming out this summer, where you can customize simple things like the color. Now, does that help your IT department? Maybe not, but it does help, again, the return on happiness, because the environment that you're creating for collaboration, sometimes the little things make a big difference as well on those.
They do. I don't know if you guys just noticed there, but in my office here, I have, light sensors. And so I don't have to go around the house turning the lights off all the time. Really, there's sensors. And so I had not been moving. So really the light went off in my office. And I don't know if you noticed, that because I have this low light adjustment via HP Presence, my PC understood that and actually, again, gave me additional exposure so that people could see me. And so those are small things. Again, I'll even show if I kind of move to the left, right, my camera moves me back to the middle. And so, but again, those are the things that you should be able to design. We design those into our devices instead of you trying to figure, I got to go buy an external webcam or go buy this, and they kind of patch it all together. So really unique solutions.
And Kirk, I just thought it was your shining personality because I was catching that on the camera. So I love it. Hey, Mary, just one more quick question. And then maybe we'll wrap. But that is, we hear so much with your forest in the background about this paperless being a global strategy. What is HP's plan to help support it? And I can even throw in a comment here too, because you mentioned it earlier. The managed print environment is really designed to optimize print, right? And so often that means getting rid of what we call the bad print and allowing to focus on the good print. The bad print are the print jobs that go unretrieved. They are the excessive print jobs, right? So there's a lot in the offering that actually helps focus and optimize the good print that drives collaboration and almost that second display for some people in an office environment. Anything you'd add to that?
Absolutely. I mean, look, we know that folks are moving towards digitization. We know cloud devices. We're a print company, but we're also a solutions company. We want to find the right ways, again, to enable the future of business. What we think and what we say sometimes is fewer pages and better outcomes. And what that means, again, is our commitment to sustainability, whether it's using HP OEM supplies to get the right print the first time, whether it's using WorkPath or workflow so that you can actually digitize, and maybe you can send electronic copies at the touch of a button instead of having to print out multiple copies. And I really do see our devices with scanners and MFPs as being the digitization or the digital on-ramp as folks begin to look at moving paperless. But I have to say, we know from research, printing has become even more essential during this pandemic for some of those things that you talked about, Sandy. Some of us like to have a hard copy printout that we can mark up, and some of us like it as a second screen. It doesn't have HP Presence on it, but it still provides a value of being able to refer to it when you're on calls or are in meetings. So thanks for the question. It's a great question.
Kirk and Mary, thank you for joining Sandy and I and our clients this morning. To our clients, we hope that today's conversation was productive and provided insights into the solutions that HP has to offer. Our focus is to drive outcomes for you and your businesses, and we welcome the opportunity to continue the discussion. So please don't hesitate to contact your HP account executive to schedule a follow-up call. And speaking of follow-up, we do have a little thank you for you. So your account team will provide you with some additional details. Thank you to everyone for attending, and thank you for your partnership.